Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. This is your host, Katy Ray. I am joined with Ashley Smith today, a friend of a friend, but I'm super excited to get to meet you. One of my extremely long friends. How long is it? About 15 years, Jasmine Johnson, introduced us through Instagram. That's the power of social media. I always say it's a love-hate relationship, right? But I am super excited to have you on and just kind of chat about what you're doing and goals and all that fun. I love inspirational women, so welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. So I say let's kind of jump right in. What you're currently doing, what got you on this road to real estate. So I know that's your Instagram.
Yes. So right now I am what we call a general realtor. So I can pretty much sell anything residential. I'm licensed in the state of Florida. So, but I started my career working for a developer. So I worked for a home builder, and I specifically sold what they built. So it was a totally different ballgame, still selling residential real estate, but just a different lane. So I kind of got into this side of it more so a lot for the flexibility. I'm a mom of a young child. So, when you work for any company, you work a lot. And so, that was all fine and good before I had him. But then afterwards, you just kind of start to reprioritize everything. So then another part of it, though, is, I really wanted to help more people into home ownership. Community I come from is, not very wealthy. And there's just a lot of disparities between, the African-American community and wealth when you compare us to, different ethnicities. And so a lot of that, I think, is just you don't know what you don't know, and there's just certain things that are taught in other households that, we don't really learn growing up. We might learn it on our own as we get older and through trial and error. And so I kind of wanted to be an avenue for people to learn more about home ownership. And I realized that when I did join this side of it, I was dealing with a lot more first-time home buyers versus before the price point was a lot higher. So I had more seasoned buyers. They kind of, it was more so a matter of helping them find what they wanted versus helping them navigate the process. Yeah. So this side of it is a lot different, but I truly enjoy it.
And it's more education, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's challenging for me too, because, you start to become the expert when you've done something for so long. And now I'm like, I'm learning, things too as I go. So it's really nice.
I love that. And it's been 2 years now. You have a 2-year-old. You've been doing this?
Yeah. So actually, no. So I didn't leave right away. Honestly, I was terrified. Because,
of course.
I mean, you're like, we had a new house, we had a new baby. And so I'm like, I'm responsible because my fiance, he's an entrepreneur. So it's like, you can't have two.
The balance. You're like,
you know what I mean? I'm like, I have health insurance. I have this, I have that.
Feel that.
So it was super scary to even think about leaving, but it just became a point where it was now or never.
So were you doing it on the side?
So actually, because I was licensed, no, I was strictly working for the developer before.
Okay.
So, I had an office space. I would get up, go there, and I would sell. I worked in a community. So if you see those new communities and they have the model homes and everything, that's what I did. So I worked in the model home, and I sold their product.
That was our first house, was a Lennar home in Miami. So
yes.
It was everything was the same, but I was like, it's perfect. It's the community.
And, there is a lot to be said. I love new construction. Honestly, it still, holds a special place in my heart because old houses have a ton of character and they're beautiful. It's just, especially for a lot of first-time home buyers, when you're transitioning from renting and you can call a landlord and say, hey, my toilet's broken. You know what I mean? When you're transitioning from that into home ownership, there's a lot that people don't take into account. And so with new construction, it gives you a little bit of cushion because usually those homes come with warranties. And so it's not as jolting. You're not replacing a whole AC unit the minute you move in.
Yeah, I know. I feel that.
Yeah.
So when you did take the leap, Was your fiance completely supportive? Like, how was that balance?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He was on board 1,000%.
Because he's an entrepreneur, so
Yeah.
he knew the feeling probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think he could see like how stressed I was, because I worked 7 days a week. Even though I was off 2 days a week, I mean, it's never ending because they're getting phone calls about this and that. And, you're putting out fires all the time. So, the joy of entrepreneurship is you can make your own schedule. It's a gift and a curse because you have to stay motivated and you have to stay on top of yourself. You have to manage your time really well. But it's not somebody else dictating where you need to be when you need to be there.
Yeah. And what do you think was the hardest thing about like staying inspired and motivated? Like, what was your go-to, like on the hard days? Because there's always going to be hard days.
Yeah. I mean, on the hard days, I think it's just, my family. I've always felt like, nobody's going to take care of you the way you're going to take care of you. And so I've always been really motivated to take care of myself. But then when you have a child, it's a totally different feeling because they are 1,000% dependent on you. So it's just like, I want him to have more opportunities than I had growing up. So that's really what kind of sees me through on those days.
And have you done like educational like seminars? Is that one of your goals, like webinars?
Yeah, so that's actually one of my big goals for this year. And I've actually partnered with a newer nonprofit that reaches out to younger women. They actually are in Clearwater. They're based in Clearwater where I grew up. And so they reach out to single moms and they're educating them about different facets of life, but of course, real estate falls into that. So, so I am going to be speaking to them very soon, and I'm super excited to do more things like that where I can kind of do some outreach and mentor some people who are interested in home ownership.
How important, I love when people who are successful in what they're doing, they reach out to communities that need the extra support. How important was that for you in the beginning of starting this journey?
So actually, that was the most important thing because originally, I got really interested in real estate back in 2006. And it's so funny because things come full circle. And right when I left my job, I found this old notebook that I had been journaling in, and it was dated 2006. And and I had all these like goals and dreams and everything, and the market crashed. And then I just felt like, I can't do this. Like, what am I thinking? You know what I mean? So I kind of put it on the back burner. And then a few years later, I picked it back up. I got my license and everything. And I had no idea about new construction. Like I just thought, either I'm going to do residential real estate or I'm going to do commercial real estate. But this opportunity came about. It was just the grace of God. Like there was no other way to explain it. But I got this job with this developer and I learned so much in such a short, I worked there for almost 6 years, but that's not super long in the grand scheme of things. So I learned so much in that short period of time, but I kept in the back of my mind, I just always wanted to reach out and do this outreach, and I had no time. I had no free time. So that was always, one of my goals from the beginning, but I'm just so glad that now I'm actually able to take advantage of it.
And I feel like the experience you have with new development is so important now.
Absolutely, because everything's building up around us. Tampa is one of the fastest growing cities. There's so much going on. And, there are so many different developers and different builders, and you really kind of have to weed out which ones will be a great investment for. There's different types of investments. You can do an investment as a landlord. There's one type of, there's a different type of builder that you might seek out versus if you're doing it as a homeowner. There's going to be different factors that go into that if you plan on staying there for the long haul.
No, and I feel that. And how do you think it impacts your son watching you just work and put him first, of course, with all of his things? But like, how do you think that impacts him on a daily, being happy with what you're doing?
I hope it really positively impacts him. Because I think now too, he can see that I'm happy in what I'm doing. I'm not as stressed out. I have more time for him. So I hope that when he gets older, he sees that there's an opportunity to be an entrepreneur. It's a scary, scary thing. And I did it once before. Years ago, I had my own like fashion website, and it was tons of fun, and I learned a lot, but I made no money.
Super cool.
I actually lost a lot of money. So it was, it was like a passion project, and I was so excited. It was awesome. awesome. But
you kind of have to feel that though to be successful in where you're at.
You do. You do. You have to feel the burn of defeat to like really drive you, but yeah, so I'm just hoping that he knows that that's an option for him, because we're so, conditioned to go to school and do this and do that. And it's not for everybody. I mean, granted, I graduated college and that was awesome, but that path is not for everybody.
I know. And I always, you're so right. The conditioning of just school, 9 to 5, this, that. And you just like, it's in your head. And to have to unlearn that. There's so many things we have to unlearn just from in general.
I was just talking to my cousin about this and I'm like, whose bright idea was it that we work 5 days a week and we're off 2 days a week? That is so impossible. Archaic. Like, you can't get your laundry done, clean up the house, like meal prep for the week, do doctor's appointments. Like, how do you do all that in 2 days? It's impossible.
Listen, the archaic view of there's somebody else at the house, like cleaning and doing all that. And then women have to do all of it. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just what? I feel that 100%. And you're right. And I think I saw a meme on it. It was just like the 40-hour work week is not real and sustainable.
No.
For women out there working, coming home to, feed the family, clean the house, like you will go insane. And I have gone. I've like walked in. I'm just like, why do I live here if I can't walk and not step on a toy? Like, what am I doing in here? And that has to be, something for your work, and you're showing these beautiful houses. You're getting somebody into their new home. Like, how's that feeling for you? Because you know how it is to be in your own home. And like, isn't that like a really rewarding feeling?
It is so rewarding because, it's almost invaluable to be able to educate. I get the same questions all the time about like, am I ready for home ownership, or where do I start, or what do I do first, or you know what I mean? And it's just awesome to be able to open somebody's eyes and be like, you can do this. Because so many people are freaked out by home ownership, especially in these uncertain times, you know what I mean? But it's crazy because so many people, if you can work from home, people are starting to look at their walls and be like, okay, I need more space. I need this, I need that. So, to be able to help people with that, it's just, there's no words, because I've been homeless. We were evicted from our house when we were younger. And so I've gone through that process and lived in hotels and lived with family members and, different things like that. And it was, I never felt like I was poor because my mom did an awesome job of taking care of me, and my grandmother too. But, we had some challenging times growing up. And so that is why I'm so passionate about home ownership, because, if you do it the right way, then nobody can take that from you.
But you come with an experience of that feeling once you're in a home. Like, you come with that passion, and that says a lot. That just gave me chills, because you're bringing your whole heart to the table for your clients, or do you call them clients in real estate?
Yeah.
More like just family now, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I know everything about them. Right?
You do. It's like your clients become, friends because they have a good experience. They recommend their friends. You meet their family. You end up as like an extended family member. So it's awesome.
Yeah, we brought the whole family. We were walking through houses and stuff in Clearwater. I was like, no, I need them to give me their opinion. Just everyone.
Yes,
in there.
exactly.
And, it's just so funny because it's like, you meet the dad, you meet the uncle, you meet the sister. So no, I feel that. And I think you found it, like, at such a young age, you're in where you should be. Like, this is not only your passion project now, but your career. So it's doable. And it's hard too, right? Because probably in the middle of everything with new development, you're working 80 hours a week and you're just like, is this going to stop?
Yeah. The thing is too, like, this market is super challenging. So it was a really interesting time for me to enter this side of real estate because, when you work for a builder or a developer, everything's very controlled because they kind of drive the market. Mm-hmm. So they decide how many homes they're going to sell or how many homes they're going to build or whatever. And based on demand, they can set the price as well. So with this side of it, there's just, houses are flying off the market. It's like, it's listed in 24 hours, it's off the market. It's, 48 hours. I was noticing like houses were lasting from 1 to 5 days on the market. And that's insane. When I sold my first house, it took us like 6 months to sell.
Yeah. You're like, what?
So, and we were in a great community and everything. So it was just like, wow. So this has like been a fast learning curve for me because, the sense of urgency is like, I try to relay that to people who have no idea about how fast things are moving, because if you see something and you like it,
you have to.
You better jump on it. And it's not like where you can be like, oh, I'm going to offer 10K under asking or 15K under. Like, you better be offering full price or over in order to secure the deal. So, there's other tricks you can use as well to kind of get out in front of other, potential buyers. But it's definitely interesting times that we're in.
Just because the market shifted so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, yeah, I have to sell a house in 3 minutes. So I always love to know, do you see Tampa as more up and coming or Hillsboro more than Pinellas or past? Like, what is your take on that?
So Hillsboro just has more land to build on.
Okay.
So Pinellas is super developed already and it's more established. So there's just not as much, especially when it comes to new development going on. So the challenge with that is, existing homes that might need updates and things like that are still selling at a higher price point just because demand is so high for those areas. Especially St. Pete, Clearwater, you'll see that a lot. Whereas if you go a little bit further out in Hillsborough County, especially Riverview, Ruskin, Sun City, even, going further south, Waimama, there's a lot more land. And so, you can get a nice house for a decent price point. Bigger, more space. And that honestly, that kind of drove us out that way because I grew up in Clearwater. I live in Apollo Beach now.
So much more space.
So much more space. And I love I love Central Tampa. I love South Tampa. I love to hang out in those areas. But just for us to get what we wanted, there was no way. No.
And how about diversity? Have you noticed a shift at all?
I have not noticed a shift too much in diversity. I mean, as far as an influx of people moving here, I have noticed a lot of Northerners are moving here. Midwest, a lot is moving here. But as far
insane.
As, it is because, the thing is, if you can work from home in New York City and keep your New York salary and you can live in Florida.
Okay.
No brainer. So, and I mean, a lot of people, have careers like that where it's a little bit more flexible.
Remote.
Yeah.
And they're just traveling back for certain things. I didn't even think like that. So are you getting a lot of Northerners reaching out?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just insane.
Yeah.
And you're having more buyers, but not enough houses?
Yeah. Okay. So right now you'll hear the term a lot. It's a seller's market. And people are always like, well, what does that mean?
That's why people call me to sell my house. I'm I know you're asking.
Yes, exactly. Let me sell your house now.
No, but seriously, Katie, you're going to have me sell your house. You're
Yeah. So it's a seller's market, meaning that, if you are selling your house, you can list it, at, more aggressive price point. The terms are more in the seller's favor right now because there's low inventory. There's not a lot of houses for sale right now.
But I sell it and I can't live anywhere because I can't. There it is.
Yeah, because now you got to go find somewhere else to live. So the downside with that is if you sell your house, you're probably going to be buying at the higher end of the market versus, if it was a buyer's market. So there's a lot of buyers out there right now. There's not a lot of inventory right now. So, supply and demand, if demand is high, supply is low, then there's always going to be, a higher price point and it's going to be a little bit harder to purchase.
And what are your main goals for when you start educating and doing seminars and just teaching people the basic buying of a house? Or
so I mean, my first goal is kind of to address their questions because I found that I have a lot of information, but you can't just dump it on people because they're just I don't know what to do with this information.
Sometimes they don't have questions because it's just so much information.
Yeah. So I mean, I do find that I get a lot of the same challenges with first-time homeowners is, a lot of it is they're not prepared for homeownership as far as their credit score, their savings, that kind of thing. So I kind of start there with educating them on what they need and, how we can work towards that. And then also mainly, I just want to let people understand that it's accessible. If you can pay rent, you can pay a mortgage. I mean, it's just that simple. So you really have to look at what your budget is and what your goals are. And that's kind of how we start to figure out where we need to look as far as price point.
Because people are if they think they have a bad credit score, they're just like, no, I'm not buying a house.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of embarrassing. You know, nobody wants to talk about their bad credit. Yeah. So I do have partners that I work with who, you know, they don't have to talk to me about it. They can talk to a real professional, credit repair person about that and trying to get them on the right path. And a lot of it is just, you know, debt to income. So, you know, if you have credit cards, don't spend more than 30% of the total amount on those credit cards. Pay your bills on time, of course, but you can also do little tricks like there's certain apps like with what is it?
For your credit repair? Like
tips? So for I think it's through Experian, you can get credit for like paying your rent on time and things like that. So it's not technically like a revolving account, but they're starting to try to help people build their credit. Yeah. So like utilities and, rent, things that you have to pay anyway, they're starting to give you credit for paying those things on time. So those are little things that help as well. And
do you find that the time frame for like bad credit, like, is it doable for people? Like, is it a good, like a 6 months to a year, or is it longer? Or?
It could even be shorter than that. I mean, it really just depends on the individual and what is their challenge, because some people, it's something as simple as like looking at their credit report and seeing what's actually accurate information and what's not. I mean, there was a time where I have a very common name. My name is Ashley Smith. So I had this alias on my credit report that had a different middle initial than mine. I got that removed and my score went up 50 points. It was so weird. And it's just like, because I never cared. I never looked at my credit report. I was like, I pay my bills, whatever. You know what I mean? So,
Isn't it's just that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's insane what these companies get away with. But yeah, so it's just something as simple as looking at your report, seeing what's on there and seeing what is, worth paying off, what's worth disputing, you just kind of have to look at every individual situation. But I've had people get ready, in 45 days to buy a house.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so hopeful for people, because I remember my credit was bad because I got a car repo when I was 21.
I've been there.
I wouldn't look. Yeah, I wouldn't look at my credit score because I was just like, no, it takes like 7 years. I don't even want to look at it. And that is like something people hate, but you actually like give them hope. Like, it's doable. People just haven't taught you. Like,
yeah, and it's crazy because people don't realize, they think they need like a 750 credit score to buy a house. Literally, the minimum is 580.
Really? I had no idea. I feel so educated today. Really?
Yes. So, wow. In certain instances, and they look at different factors. The I guess threshold that people prefer is 620, but that's still very doable for a credit score. But yeah, there's instances where you can have as little as a 580 credit score, and you can qualify to buy a house. I thought it was
750 too. I waited till I got my credit score up.
You don't have to.
What? Ashley, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. And did you know all this when you started like new development? Did you start learning about this?
No, I didn't know any of this.
Okay.
So the funny thing is like you go and you get your real estate license and they don't teach you anything about like financing. That's totally separate. Financing is totally separate than real estate. Yeah. I mean, granted.
But it's like the most important thing, isn't
it? It is, because I don't know. I don't have $500,000 in cash laying around to go buy a house. Like most people don't. So yeah. So they don't teach you about financing. They don't really teach you about the practicality of dealing with homeowners. They just teach you, how many, I don't know, square feet an acre is. And there's a lot of random stuff. And real estate law, which is important, they do teach you that. But it's kind of like when you graduate, you have to go get in the field to actually start to gain the information. Yeah.
I would like to tell you our first home in Miami when we moved back here. It was a cash deal. And I was like, so do they just bring a duffel bag of money to the house for signing? And my husband's like, no. And I was like, why did I envision that? Like, why was that my thought?
I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, just bring me some cash, but
that was when you said, I just don't have $500,000. That's what I really thought. I was like, do they just bring like a duffel bag? Do we return the duffel bag? How does that work? It sounds great. I'm bad. Like, it's so bad. But it's, again, I didn't know enough about it either. I was always scared of my credit score. I never wanted to look at it. So I feel that like, it's like shame.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I have a credit card with some debt, a lot of debt on it, but it's like, you're just so shameful that you just don't want to like validate it when you look at your credit score.
That's the thing. And that's why I think that so many people shy away from home ownership. And, I get a million excuses because now I'm kind of like, my friends are like, oh, here goes Ashley talking about houses again. But I'm like, it's so important.
It really is.
It is.
Equity, it's just like, that could be yours.
Yes. And it's a proven way for generational wealth. It's like, there's that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I read it like years ago, but it really, there was a lot of points in there that stood out to me because, it talks about the way that rich people think and the way that poor people think. So I don't know if you're familiar with that book at all.
No, but I can't wait to read it now. I'm like very
It's by this guy, like Robert Key. I'm probably saying his last name totally wrong, but
he'll probably
anyway.
be listening, so it's fine.
Yeah, he's totally listening. I'm sorry. But so he wrote this book, and basically the premise is he has his dad who is not poor per se, but he's just got a poor mindset. He's, 9-to-5 worker. I think he works for the school system or something like that. And he has his friend's dad who is like an entrepreneur, and he's a rich guy. And so he basically just talks about the different mindsets of those two men in his life and how they influenced him. And, the rich dad kind of taught him, like, you don't work for a paycheck. Like, you work, you follow your passions, you do what you have to do to make money, and you also let your money make money for you. And so one of the things that I try to teach people is when you own a house, it's almost like just putting your money in a savings account. Mm-hmm. Because think about it. You have your mortgage, right? And you pay it off you pay it every month, and you keep putting that money there. When you go to sell that house, you take that money back out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't think about that. When you are renting, you just give that money to your landlord and you never see it again. So, the mindset of, real estate equaling generational wealth is that you keep building, and so, and a lot of people think too, well, I have to pay the house off. How does that work? Some of my friends, and I'm sorry, I might be rambling, but
no, I love it. No, you're not at all. It's totally
so a couple of my friends, we bought a house, our first house we bought, and we sold it like not even 2 years later because our family, we bought a house thinking like, oh, it's just going to be us for the next 5 years. But we built it. And before we could even move in, I was 6 months pregnant. And so we were like, oh, this isn't really as much space as we thought it was going to be. So with not even 2 years, we sold that house. So we moved into another house and all of our friends were like, but you didn't pay it off. How did you sell it? I don't get it. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Oh. Just because you get a 30-year mortgage doesn't mean you have to sell it off or pay it off before you can sell it. Yeah. So it's just, there's just so many things. But the thing is, we took that money that we kind of broke even on it, but we took that money that we put as our initial down payment. We got to take that back out and we put that towards our next house. We added some money to it. We put that towards our next house. And so, that's kind of how you can level up a little bit. It's like we saved that, initial down payment, which was like $30,000 between the two of us. We saved that pretty much over the course of time that we got to live in this house that we owned, you know what I mean? So it's just, it's
teaching people how that works.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really what you're doing. And it's not that you're talking about houses again. It's just you're passionate about it and it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So why not talk about it? I'm glad they shame you a little bit and let you keep talking. A little bit of shade, throw that and then just let her talk. But right. You're educated on it. You've lived it. You're passionate about it. Like I'm passionate about people not throwing money into apartments and things because I did it for so long. But I don't know why I am. Yours makes it much clearer why. I just hate because rent is rent. Why wouldn't you put it into?
Well,
I love how you call it a
savings. Too, it's like when you're renting a space, you never really feel 100% at home because you're always like, well, I can't do this because when I move, or I can't buy this piece of furniture because what if I move and it doesn't fit in my next space? Or there's always just those things where you don't really feel like, can I paint the walls? Is my landlord going to freak out, or I have to paint them back when I leave?
In here.
Yeah, it's never really yours. So it's like that feeling when you drop those boxes and like you're in a space that is actually yours. It's so amazing.
So when you find people that have rented their whole life and their credit's bad, when they come just like wanting help, what's your first thing you talk to them about? Credit, right? how to get in with the tips.
Yeah, pretty much is where it starts is with credit. And not all my first time, it's so funny because not all of them have bad credit.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't really know what their credit score is. So, my first goal is usually to get them in touch with a lender because I'm a real estate agent and a lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two. So, I know enough about finance to get me in trouble almost is how I like to put it. So I know enough to get you started, but I definitely want to get you in touch with a lender, a mortgage professional, because things change all the time in the mortgage industry. Their guidelines change all the time. There's different programs coming available all the time. So, what I might have heard of 6 months ago may no longer be available, but there might be a new program that's available now. So, and a lot of people always want to know about first-time homebuyer programs too. In my experience, they're not as readily available, like free cash is not as readily available as sometimes people think. So I always say, don't really depend on those options. I would say go for a program that offers less money down. So another misconception is that you need 20% to put down on a house. There's loan programs out there where you can do as little as 3.5%. So
I'm blown. My mind's blown.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I'm going to go buy a new house.
So things that people should understand is that you don't necessarily have to have a ton of cash in the bank, and you don't always have to try to depend on somebody giving you free money either.
Yeah. And have you collabed with different lenders and you have like those go-to people now?
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing is I can, there's banks, which are awesome, but then there's also mortgage lenders. So banks tend to have a little bit more rules and regulations than mortgage lenders. So while banks sometimes can offer you a little bit better rate because of that, they have what are called overlays. So basically the minimum credit score might be 620, but a bank could say the minimum that we're going to accept is 700. You know what I mean? Because they can do that. Whereas a mortgage lender is going to go by the bare minimum guidelines. So, there's different options for different people, just depending on where they are.
That's awesome. And then you have to pick different lenders in different counties. Is that what you would do?
No,
it doesn't matter, right?
Most lenders are kind of like nationwide, but I do find that if you find a local branch, they have a better handle on the taxes in your area, the fees that might be associated with your community and things like that.
Did you think you would know all of this at this time in your life? Because it's a lot of shit to know.
Excuse me. Yes, it is. And honestly, I never thought about it like that because, you tend to think you know everything but
in your whole life. Yes.
Right. So it's like, no, when I first started in this career, like I was waiting tables, I was bartending, I was like, natural progression. You bartend and then you become a realtor. It's like a prerequisite. But
if you haven't served someone a drink at the bar, you can't do what I do. Basically is what I'm saying. If you haven't had conversations with people who don't remember your conversation the next day, you can't be a realtor.
Or like just you just meet so many different people from so many walks of life. And so it's great experience. It's great conditioning. But yeah, so I forgot where I was going with that. But
just all the shit you said you already thought you knew everything.
You don't really. It's like when you have a challenge and then you're like, oh, wait, I don't know that. But the great thing about, throughout my career, I've always had experienced people that I could lean on. So I'm not afraid to be like, I don't know that answer, but I'll be right back and I'll find out for you.
Yeah, of course.
So that's
you're real with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even, almost 6-7 years in, I'm like, sometimes things will come up and I'm like, what? I've never experienced that before. So I got to go do some research. So,
but I love that. You should always be growing every day and you do that, which is really important because it's only making you better at your job.
Yeah.
And I hate to say job because it's really your passion. You're just pursuing it, right?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate that what I love to do, I can actually make money doing.
Listen, when I talk to realtors who love their job, I'm always like, maybe I should do it. And I'm like, no, I just learned way too much in one. That sounds like a lot of work right now.
And it's so funny too, because I'm always trying to recruit my friends. I'm like, you should be a realtor. And then I think about it. I'm like,
no, you shouldn't. I shouldn't have gotten him excited.
I know. I should have, because it's not for everybody, but that's everything. I mean, I definitely could not, there's a lot of things that I just could not see myself doing, but yeah, it just so happens. I love homes. I love people, and you put the two together and it's like
home and people.
Yeah.
Makes a home. So what are you in? You feel like you're home for a while now, or do you always, I mean, you're always in it with houses. Yes. So like it has to, I don't even know how many times you probably redecorated your house, but how hard is that as a realtor to not want to like change it up a little bit?
So the pain of packing and moving makes it a lot easier to stay put.
That's all said. I don't want to pack up any of the shit. It's hard to clean my house. I couldn't even imagine packing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good thing, our first house definitely was like, we learned a lot, you know what I mean? Because we rented for so many years, we moved so many times, and like, then when you're in a space, you're like, this is mine. And then you're moving around it and you're like, wait, this could function better, or this would work better for our lifestyle. And, you know, we would prefer this, because there were things like, you know, our backyard neighbor, when the first time we moved, we're like, we don't care if there's somebody behind us. And then we were like, we don't really like looking at people behind us. So it was like, you know what I mean?
A couple of little things you didn't think you'd mind.
So it was like, and because the community we live in, you can't have like a privacy fence. So anyway, so there's just like those little things that you learn. But this time around, we really tried to make sure that this was a space that we could see ourselves living in for quite a long time. And it's awesome too, because we live in a newer community. So as things start to develop around us, it's like, oh my God, we got a Chick-fil-A. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like those little things that like
keep you excited.
Yeah, exactly.
So with like new, like modern looks and things like that, do you update your house as often as changes do in home?
Yeah, I'm a little guilty of like, watching HGTV and then being like, we should do that. And then I lose my mojo. And like, so no, I've come to find out that you hire people for those things, because I don't have the patience. I can't even put up wallpaper. Like as much as I love houses, and I can't, I don't have the patience. So, yeah, those are always those little things that I want to do. But we kind of like, we moved in, and especially with new construction, you don't have a lot of character, because, it's brand new. It's like, so we, redid our closet. Well, we redid it. We did our closet. And, we added
more
like
shelving and stuff.
Cabinetry and shelving. And I have an awesome friend, Stephanie Monacone, and she is amazing. She's like this little 5'2" like superstar, and she does kitchens and bathrooms, and
love that.
She does all kinds of, I think she even built like somebody's boat ramp at one point, but she's crazy. It's amazing. But yeah, so she did our closet for us, and she's coming back to do our laundry room. And
I love how you take sections, like just one thing, like don't get crazy.
Yeah, we can't, because I mean, when you have somebody coming in and out too, it's like, oh, I know. But when it's all done,
you're like, look
at it. So yeah, so we do little projects here and there, and I kind of drive my fiance crazy, because I'm like, oh, what if we did this next? And he's like,
stop looking at houses all day. That's but how is that for you? So you and your fiance, both entrepreneurs, do you work off each other's schedule?
Yeah, we have no choice.
So it's like shared calendar kind of thing. So you guys know like when to.
Yeah.
That's got to be hard.
It is hard, especially because he is in nightlife. So our schedules are very opposite. So that is a challenge too. But
that kind of helps with your son.
Yeah, it does.
But not like,
because like when he's with dad, he's on dad's schedule, and when he's with mom, he's on mom's schedule. So it's like, but poor thing. But no, I mean, it does now, especially now he just started daycare. So that's been super helpful, because trying to work from home with a toddler is like impossible.
That is not possible. I don't know who was doing it or how the TV didn't help you, baby. Like someone needs babies, but like always coming in whispering at me like, hey, Mom. And I'm like, I'm on a call. Like,
see, at least yours whispers.
Fine. I whisper, but it's like that loud whisper. And you're just like, grab a cookie. Like, go grab a cookie.
Mine's just like, bah! And I'm like, okay, hey, I'm sorry. Or I'm like trying to talk, and he's just trying to talk over me, because he's just like, Mom's talking, so I'm going to talk.
Yeah, not possible. But daycare's an awesome thing. And it's good for them to be around other kids.
It's been life-changing. Like the way he's grown in just the last couple months is like, oh my God, like he's just so more aware and so much more social, and it's been really good for him too.
And it helps you because you don't have to shut off in front of him. You can actually work when he's at daycare, and then
exactly.
It's a different ball game. So 2 entrepreneurs. How many years
have we been together?
And how many years have you guys done entrepreneurship?
Okay, so we've been together since high school, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those stories.
Yeah. So, and we had a lot of growing to do, so we kind of went together and we separated, got back together.
You were young, of course.
Very young, and trying to pursue your own goals. It's like, you can only imagine. So, and we went to separate colleges and things like that. So so it was a challenge. But he's been in nightlife, God, I don't know, probably over 10 years. It's been a minute, because he kind of started casually at just like going out, and we would always have like kind of a big group, and so managers would be like, hey, can you bring more people? And like, so he's a club promoter, and he does different events and things like that. So he's been doing this for a while. He's pretty much got his rhythm going. Whereas me, I've kind of dibbled and dabbled in entrepreneurship, and I can totally understand the value of working for a company. Like I can definitely see both sides of the coin, because there's some people who are like, be an entrepreneur. There's no other way. And I'm like, that doesn't work for everybody either, And I had to kind of do both in order to see where my strengths were and where my weaknesses were. And, now on the second go round, I'm like, okay, there's definitely things I'm going to outsource because I don't have the mental capacity for that. But there's definitely things I can do myself. So working both as an entrepreneur, it's awesome because we have more time for each other because we can make time. Mm-hmm. So that's been the joy of it. The stressor is like, okay, when's the next paycheck?
Yeah, right. You or me? Right. You or me? Okay, I'm gonna flip.
Who's covering this?
Yeah,
But
you want to flip a coin, and we'll see who's gonna get the first paycheck.
Yeah.
But I feel that. But also, you guys get to bounce like things you're going through off each other and understand each. Because somebody is a lawyer. You can't come home and be like, let me tell you about the law today. And someone's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What deposition? Yeah. Like now you guys have kind of each other to really balance, like kind of just bring each other up on the rough days because you both have them.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship's hard. And if you don't have someone who understands really, they're just like, you get to work for yourself. You're fine. And you're like,
right. No, it's actually harder. Because the good thing is, especially because he kind of is more in a managerial role in his job, if you want to compare to a 9-to-5. But for me, it's like, I'm kind of my own boss, but, I'm still navigating some different challenges, especially dealing with difficult clients or difficult situations. And so I can kind of bounce ideas off of him because he's dealt with difficult people before. You can imagine like entertainers and their managers and their road managers and they're this and they're that. It's like, he deals with difficult people all the time. So I definitely, that's one of the things that I love bouncing those things off
Power
him.
Couple. Also, there's a monsoon behind us. It's fine. We're just going to get blown away. And it's raining.
Right? It's fine. No
Welcome
big deal.
to Florida. It'll be done in a minute. It's fine. So did you go to college in Florida?
I did. Yeah. I went to Florida State. So I started at Florida State. I did not graduate from there. I ended up moving back here, went to USF for a while, and then I ended up graduating from St. Pete College.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
We've had all the feels of all the colleges.
All the feels, yeah. And I loved them all for different reasons. FSU is obviously a party town. It's FSU. There's nothing else there but, the college.
Don't expect anything but the college and partying.
Yeah. So between FAMU and FSU, there's a lot going on there. But yeah, I love them all.
I love that you're a Florida girl. I'm a Florida girl, even though I was born in New York, but I grew up in Florida. But I think it's really important what you're doing. I love that you're helping people get more educated. I feel like as an adult, I have to say I'm an adult now. I learned so much buying a house, and it's just overwhelming. So to have that person to really like guide you, I think that's going to be so powerful, especially just for women in general buying things from cars to houses.
Yeah, like if I could have,
yeah.
There needs to be like a car agent. Like the next time I go to buy a car, I need somebody to just deal with everything for me.
I'm going to now be the car person. I go buy cars for you and I deliver them. Yeah. But it's true, right? And it's really overwhelming. So people just like say, whatever, I'm just going to rent. I love that you're doing that. Let us know when you're doing like webinars and stuff or whatever, in-person events. Because absolutely. I think that is one of the most important things at all ages.
Yes.
Not just kids coming out of college, no, I think all ages. And they don't teach enough at school about finance and things like that. And it's just kind of navigating and being a comfortable space. And I think you'll provide that because I've totally warmed up to. Hence, I told you about my repo.
See, it's not that embarrassing. I mean, we all go through those things. And like you said, they don't teach enough about this in school. I mean, literally graduated high school, first week on FSU campus, and there's a line of tables with credit card applications, and it is so wrong. And it's like,
you're so right, though.
I got my first I got a Kay's jewelry credit card, and I got
which is super important. Your first
super important, and an express credit card. Okay. I no longer have either one of those accounts. Let's just say that.
So it actually did nothing for my credit, but it helped me buy more things at once.
Yes, it actually hurt my credit. Yeah.
Ashley has to get to a brunch outside. So where do we find you? Tell me all the things.
Okay, so the easiest way to reach me is my cell phone. I know I'm giving out my cell phone number. It's 813-368-6947. You can text me real estate questions anytime.
I love that.
Or call me, but text is always better.
Quicker.
You can find me on Instagram at Road to Realty. You can kind of see a little bit about like the houses I sell, what's going on in the market, things like that. You can find me on Facebook, same at Road to Realty. Or you can email me, ashley@roadtorealty.com.
I love that. I'm so glad we met. Again, Shout out to Jasmine for introducing us. I think people that just want to help people get stories out is super important. And I hope we continue this. Yes. And when you start your educational series and everything, we'll jump back on and talk about how it's going. But thank you so much. I'm so excited for you to go to brunch in this rain today.
I am thrilled. It's monsooning outside. I'm sure my phone has been going off, but I think there's
tornado
warnings
and shit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Ashley will be found at Not a Great Whisperer page, at katyray.com, at The Real K Ray, and it is a pleasure knowing you now. I'm excited to watch your journey too. You're awesome. You are amazing. Your vibe is great. Thanks for joining Not a Great Whisperer at BKN Creative in a monsoon in Ybor City. I think the roosters are even hiding. And we're out. Thanks.